No, he's fine. He's raring to go. I know it's a 6-day break and a short turnaround for us going to Perth, but all the indicators are that he's fit and firing to go this week.
You said last week that he was going to be 100%, but he got subbed out in the end. Is that sort of same feeling that he's 100%?
No, I feel like he is. You know, it's a coach's call, I guess. Within the game, you've got to make quick decisions based on what you feel like the team needs at the time. And you know, Scotty's been such a great player for us over the last 200 games. He's critical to us. He wins inside ball. But I guess now what we felt like we needed late in that game was outside run, which is why we made the call. I mean, whether that was the right decision or not, we'll never know. You know, he could have had 12 or 15 possessions in the last quarter, but ultimately that's just a call you've got to make as a coach, and hopefully it pays off being the right one.
So if you had to play him for 120 minutes, you would?
Yeah, I'm confident he'll play 120 minutes tomorrow night. Yeah, he has had some issues this year with some hip and groin, but we feel like we're on top of that. If you asked me straight after the game, I would have thought he would have been in a little bit of trouble this week to come up, but he's trained really well this week. All the indicators show that he's going to be back to his best again this weekend.
You find that going with Hardigan?
Yep.
What do you like about him? I know Rutten's out, so it makes the odds.
Yeah, it's very much a like for like with Rutten out and Hardigan. I mean, he's just such a big, strong-bodied defender, and his form at SANFL level has been fantastic all season. He's fighting for a spot along with probably Sam Shaw, Luke Thompson, Cole Hardigan. It was a really good debate at match committee who was the best of those three to bring in, but we feel that Cole's got the bigger body, particularly against how Fremantle are going to play with Sandilands going forward, Zach Clark, and the other one is Taverner. So it's important we've got a big body defender down there to replace Truck.
So what did you tell Mitch Grigg about?
He was very stiff, I know. He's. I told him it's unfortunately part of footy, where ultimately you can sometimes get squeezed out when you've played a really good game the week before. We're picking 2 rucks this weekend. We've gone with 1.5 rucks, I guess, if you call it that, with Jacobs and Jenkins the last 2 games. But I think McKernan just gives us that other ruck option, and particularly against Sandlands, too. He hasn't played much footy this year, but he's pivotal to them. He helps them win clearances. So we'll obviously go with the 2 recognised ruckmen, with Jenkins mainly forward this week.
So what have you told McKernan about his aggression?
Just making sure it's controlled. So I asked him at training this morning, what's your one key word this week? And he said aggressive, and I said but controlled. So that's him playing on the edge. And we know the last time he played, that spilt over, and that was an undisciplined act, and we've missed him the last 2 weeks. But just structurally, it looks like we're a better side with him in the mix.
Sando, how important is the two-way running on a ground like Patterson's, where Freo is such lockdown kings as well?
Yeah, I mean, this is a really good midfield we're playing this week, especially with Sandlands back. But you look at the numbers of Barlow, Mundy, Fife, Hill. You throw Sandy in there. This is as challenging as it gets. Going to Patterson's to play this team. But we like our midfield too. They were back to their best last week. Their two-way running, their ability to spread hard both ways was really important. So that'll be a similar focus again this week.
Better prepared for that little stretch play they did out of defence and caught you out last time. You better prepared for that.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, it's definitely going to be a focus for us. They do share the ball. They get short kicks, uncontested marks. We'll do our very best to cut off all the exit points. And it's important when the ball's in our half to ensure that they don't maintain possession and control the tempo. So we'll be trying to do a little bit of what Freo do to other teams, and that's really lock the ball away in their half and stop any easy exits.
What did you learn about the guys after that stint during the week?
I was really impressed with our young players. To get a win like that, 30 points down against Geelong, shows a lot of character. And I mean, we're even younger again this week. I think I'm almost certain that this is the youngest back six the Crows has ever put on the field, with obviously Rutten out. So if you look at our back six this week, you'd say it's a really tough ask for these young boys to go across, and in a hostile environment, playing in Perth against Freo or West Coast, it's loud, it's noisy. It's going to be a great challenge for our young team again, but it's important that we back it up. We haven't had a consistent performance this season. We've had some good patches, whether it's a good game and then a bad quarter, and we've let ourselves down too often with some really bad footy. But we're just going to make sure we bring that last quarter's energy straight into the first quarter this week.
Why is it that what should be your weakness, your young players, has actually been one of your strengths this year?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I've been really proud of our young boys. Some of those young kids this year who have had limited experience and AFL exposure have been quite often our best players. So we'll look for a bit more consistency through that senior group. As I said, we lose Rutten again this week, which means we're younger again. But Hartigan gets his chance along with Brown, Laird, Smith, Crouch. These boys have been fantastic. So it's going to be a great challenge for us again.
Do you enjoy watching them handle that challenge?
Yeah, I do. I mean, ultimately as a coach, you pick your best 22 every week. You pick a 22 which you're expecting to win. It's nice when you can pick your best 22 that's available, and they're all quite young. It means short term and long term our footy club's in a pretty good in a pretty good position.
How much have you noticed the lift in spirits after the last week?
Yeah, a win makes a big difference at a footy club. Particularly against a good side like Geelong. A side that we really respect, and we acknowledge they've been such a powerhouse for the last 7 or 8 seasons. So for our young boys to come back from 30 points down did give us a bit of a spark this week around the place. But as I said, we fly into a real hostile environment tonight. The Perth away trips is one of the hardest, and when Freo are playing well, they're one of the hardest sides to beat away. So we'll make sure we get away to a good start.
Is there any frustration in the fact that those performances like you did against Geelong haven't been readily available throughout the season?
Yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, the season's 22 rounds. Ideally, you'd have a consistent season where you'd have your bad patches, but they'd only be in really short blocks, maybe 5 or 10 minute blocks. But unfortunately, we've had some really disappointing games. Richmond and Sydney come to mind. There was opportunities there. We played really poorly. Then we've had some games where we felt we've been right in them and lost. So West Coast, Hawthorn, Fremantle earlier in the season. We felt like we were right in those games, but just couldn't close them out. But that probably comes with having a young side and not having the ability to be able to be really poised and composed when it matters. So great challenge this week to get across to Perth and do our best to win away from home.
Do you know how to beat the stranglehold? When they strangle you?
The most important thing is you don't retreat. So we know the press is coming. We know the pressure's coming. Important thing is you don't go further back and further into your shell. I think the sides that sort of go east-west against them are the ones that have the most difficult. So have the most difficulty. So we'll do our best to take the game on within reason. I mean, you've got to respect they're defensively the best team in the competition. Number 1 defence, number 3 at tackles. We know the heat's coming. We've just got to ensure that we can go at it with a bit of poise and composure.
Do you think the players are sensing the importance of this game and just the whole season?
Yeah, they do. I mean, if we win tomorrow, we're right back in it. I mean, that's. But first of all, you've got to get the win. The essence is going across there to win. We're not going across there to just play well. Ultimately, we've just got to keep winning. So hopefully last week gives us a bit of a confidence boost, and we can go over there in the right frame of mind.
Coaching, I guess. Do you draw anything from past performances there?
Yeah, we do. I mean, our form's been pretty good in my time against Fremantle. Our win-loss records is pretty healthy, and even some players, when you go back and look at their stats, actually play really well against Fremantle. So it just feels like we match up pretty well against them. But that's not counting our chickens either. That's we've got to go across there, start well. As I said, really hostile environment, but what a great challenge for our kids.
You've been told what rule of the week is?
Not yet. We'll be watching tonight. Friday night footy's normally the indicator.
Is that sad that you have to watch a game before you know what they're going to be working
Oh
on?
no, I mean I think it's just a guess. I mean it's probably something that's across the industry. I mean everybody watches Friday night footy anyway. It's when you're away or if you're even at home. Obviously you sit down and watch the game and see how it evolves on Friday night, and typically you might be able to pick up something that you think might be a bit of a flavour for the weekend.
So after last week, what do we know about holding the ball?
We don't know much more, I think, than we knew the week before. I think one thing that they'll be certainly looking at, and we've got Jeff Geeshin coming over to visit us next week, we'll seek further clarification on what is disposing of the ball. That's probably the one that I think we're most all confused about, is how do you legally dispose of the footy, I guess, in the modern game. So that's probably the one area that, as our coaching department, would probably seek the most clarification on.
Did you ask him to come, or was that booked in?
No, booked in visit, yeah. But it's a good opportunity for us. I know Jeff does that with all the clubs. It's our turn next week. We've got a list of things that we'll be seeking clarification on and some vision, and I know Jeff will do his best to explain where we're at with a lot of those rules.
You relieved to have Dean Bailey back in the box?
Yeah, it'd be good. Yeah, Dean's first game back as an assistant coach, which was going to be great. We've really missed him, and I'm sure he's going to add something to us this weekend.
Had a challenge coaching against Ross Lyon, but you guys playing at someone that
whose game plan thrives on stoppages. How do you plan on countering him and what he does in the box?
Yeah, he's one of the most challenging coaches to coach against. He's always throwing things at you, and obviously, defensively, the way that they set up is just outstanding. And they can get you on the fast break. Everyone talks about their defence, but with Main and Walters and these really quick, agile half forwards that push up the ground, we've got to make sure we hold our structure and don't get opened up going the other way.
And do you think the weather will play any effect? You played in the wet a lot more, especially for our team from Adelaide. How do you think the weather's going to affect you, especially over in Perth? Yeah,
it's a good point. We're expecting to fly into some bad weather tonight, so I know it's raining when we land, and they're expecting some showers and high winds tomorrow. So it almost seems like every Crows game this year has been in some sort of storm or hail or something. So I think we play okay in the wet. I think it matches the way that we play. We're a contested ball side, so stoppages though is an area that we need to improve on. It was better last week, but it's an area that we need to get better at too.